Hi guys, I'm Nick Bester and welcome back to the channel, and today is a video that I'm incredibly excited to share with you. In celebration of 20,000 subscribers, thank you so much to those who have subscribed out there. If you haven't, I'm making a lot more content going forward, so remember to subscribe. But today's video is all about the journey of how things started. I previously worked as a banker in the corporate world for 10 years. I've done this for the past 3.5 years as a full-time coach for 3.5 years, registered Best Athletics 2.5 years ago. And today I'm going to showcase exactly how the journey started and where things are at. So let's start off with where things are at. So at the moment, Best Athletics, we just over 500 members. We've got just over 250 coached runners at Best Athletics across the 9 coaches. So we're a team of 9 coaches. Personally, I signed a contract with Adidas this year. In my personal capacity, I signed a contract in Best Athletics' capacity, so they support Best Athletics. And I signed a contract with Strava this year. So, I'm incredibly grateful for these things. It's been an amazing year. But as we know in life, nothing ever comes for free. You have to work out there, you have to go out and get it. And it's been an incredibly tough journey, to be honest. I showcase the highlights on my social. I showcase, people show you what they want to show you, and I try and show you the highs and the lows, but I don't really go into the nitty-gritty of my work. But today, like I said, I'm going to share with you exactly how it all started. So let's go back. 10 years I was a corporate banker, and I was a mortgage banker. And do you know what? I don't miss the corporate days. I feel like when I was at the bank that I worked at, my marathon PB at the time was 2 hours, 24 minutes. And naturally that attracted a lot of runners within the bank to come and talk to me, ask for tips and advice, which I was happy to give them. I actually felt incredibly sorry for those all around me because they just had to listen to this running talk all the time. But one thing I do miss about the corporate world is the office interaction. I come here and I spend a lot of time on training peaks, making training guides, filming content, but I do miss seeing your work colleague, friends, and just getting that office interaction. But there's pros and cons to everything, and I'm pursuing my true passion in life. So but yeah, that's definitely one thing I do miss. So at the time, at the bank, there was one particular lady that was a very keen runner, and she did things in a certain way that wasn't the smarter style of training, and I knew I could help her. So she got chatting quite a lot about running, and she asked me to write her a training guide. So I was more than happy to do it. I knew the training she was doing at the time wasn't really sufficient for her cause, and she could do things in a much smarter and more productive way. So I put together a plan for her in an Excel spreadsheet. I now work with Training Peaks, but those Excel spreadsheet days were the days. And she then wanted to pay me. She was going to pay a running coach to write it for her. And I said, there's no ways. I'm your friend. I'm helping you. I enjoyed writing it. I really did. And I still really enjoy writing plans. And yeah, she then went off, did her thing, and started seeing improvements. So she didn't just see the improvements. Obviously, she was part of a club, and her friends started seeing the improvements as well. So her friends started getting in touch with me, and they wanted some training guides. If possible, if I could write a training guide for them, which I was more than happy to do because I enjoyed it. So I put in a few training plans specific to them, and they obviously wanted to pay me. They offered to pay me, but I insisted, no, there's no ways. It was, a side hobby of mine, and I really enjoyed doing it. And yeah, that's pretty much how it started. So they then started doing well, and their friends saw this. So friends of friends then started getting in touch with me. And now at this stage, it started getting like over 10 people. And this was probably about 3 months from when I originally wrote my first colleagues plan. So I thought, at over 10 clients, it's now taking quite a lot of my time. I wanted to be the best athlete I could be, but I wanted to also smash. I've always been quite competitive. as you could probably tell. And I really wanted to try and hit my targets at work, smash them. Obviously, smash your targets, better salary increase, better bonus, so on and so forth. So at 10 clients, I could no longer give of my best to everything. So at that stage, I had to start charging because it was time. I was spending quite a lot of time writing these plans. So 10 then grew to 25 around 6 months later. So by the time I wrote my first training guide on Excel, 6 months later, I was writing 25, okay? And I was charging for these guides because people wanted to pay for them, firstly. And secondly, like I said, it was taking a lot of my time. But at 25, I now had a decision to make. It's now a job. It's not just a side hustle. It's not a hobby. Coaching 25 people, it's not just the training plans. The training plans are actually a small part of it. It's the communication, the answering questions, the helping them get through training, just being the best coach you can be. And I knew I couldn't help them and smash the lights out in the corporate world. So something had to give, and I was now faced with a challenge. Do I risk it for the biscuit and pursue my passion in life? Running coaching and helping people. It's what I love doing. It's what I'm good at. Or do I stay in my corporate job, which I wasn't necessarily unhappy in, but like I said, something had to give. And I had never, ever since I had started working, I'd always been salaried employed and at a corporate. So I was never self-employed, and I was very scared to take the risk. And if you ever find yourself in a similar sort of position, I think, don't just risk it blindly. I get a lot of people reaching out to me and asking like, when is the right time, or like, how did you know? And I think when I couldn't handle anymore and I'd grown this, coaching baby, then I felt like now is the time to risk it. I was coaching 25 people. It's not like I just went, I don't want the corporate world. I want to pursue my passion, and went all in. So at that stage, I was extremely nervous to do it, but I thought, you know what, if I don't do it now, I'm never ever going to do it. And at that time, I decided it was, let's try, let's give myself a year, I said. So quit my corporate job, cheers, tada. And now it was like, since that day, I've never slept in the same manner before. I think, I was obviously working hard and, long hours at a corporate, as you do, but I felt like I could leave work at work a lot of the time, or even if it was in my mind, I could sleep nicely at night. Now, as soon as you become self-employed and whatever you put in properly, you get out, and you have to make it yourself, no one's going to make it for you, your mind just doesn't stop racing. And I find that a lot of the time, like, my best thoughts come at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I'm like, oh, I need to put this into place and stuff like that. Anyways, I'm digressing now. So quit the corporate job, but this was in June 2020, and at the same time, a thing called COVID struck properly, and it was lockdown. So COVID meant 2 things. One, a lot more people started running. There were a lot of people that were gymming, but gyms were closed, and people were homebound, and as we know, a lot of people started running during COVID, which was great because these people wanted, or probably would need, to reach out for a coach at one stage, or they wanted to improve. Just the running pool significantly grew. But at the same time, of my client base of 25, a lot of athletes had lost their jobs or had taken salary cuts, so they didn't have as much sort of disposable income. And running coaching, it's a luxury. It's something you can cut on for sure. So they, unfortunately gave their notice and stopped, and that was completely understandable. So on the one hand, I was getting in a few new athletes from COVID that had started running, and on the other hand, because no races were going ahead at all, it was a tough time for, I think, the coaching industry. So, people have said to me, you started at the perfect time. You started at the start of lockdown where people started running, but no, it was not at all, because there were no races. People didn't, necessarily need a coach to train for a race, or people were worried about disposable income. People lost jobs and stuff. So it was an incredibly tough time. So it pretty much hovered around that. I got a few new athletes, some dropped off, and that happened probably for almost a year. And after the significant boom of 25 clients in 6 months while still being at a corporate to now almost a year still on 25 clients. It was probably the hardest stage of my working career. I'd written a lot of blogs. I was trying to be the best possible coach I could be. I didn't have a big social media following. And yeah, just if I think back to those times, it was difficult as an understatement. It was, I truly believed it could work, and I poured my heart and soul into it. And because things weren't growing, they were gradual, and my year of trying was almost up, I almost felt like as if I'd failed. I knew it could work, and I knew it was what I was good at, and I knew I could get people to improve, but things just weren't growing. And I tried a lot of things. I was writing blog post after blog post and, putting myself out there as much as possible. And I remember actually being at dinner with my wife and thinking, is now the time to call it? At that time, I was considering coaching at a school which was a 40-minute cycle away, and I was going to be a track coach and earning just above minimum wage. And I reached out to schools to, potentially become a PE teacher, and I reached out to a lot of running coaching companies out there, but no one wanted me because I didn't have experience. I didn't have that much of a profile. And it was tough. And I was like, my year's almost up, and now, do we just call it a day? It was an amazing start. It hasn't worked like I'd wanted it to work, and do I go back to the corporate world? And then, two things happened that took a turn for the better. One is that a lot of the runners I'd started coaching had done a full cycle with me. There were a few like virtual races and stuff like that, and people could see how their performance had increased. And athletes out there, following them on Strava, on Instagram, on YouTube, so on and so forth, could see the improvements. So I could showcase this, and they could showcase this, and that started trending. And another thing that happened was that two influencers joining me with a big following base. And, I didn't offer them a discount or anything. I didn't offer to coach them because they had a big base. It was completely the normal client way. They got in touch, I coached them, charged them the normal fee. And they started posting about it naturally because they were showcasing their journeys. And it touched obviously a lot of people, and they started seeing significant improvements in these two social media athletes that had joined me. And then things honestly just, did a complete 180, and inquiries started coming through, and they came through thick and fast. And it was amazing for me because it was like trying to get water out of a rock. I just wasn't getting inquiries. And now they started coming in thick and fast. And honestly, in the space of about 3 to 4 months after that, I went from 25 clients to, close to 100. And I was stretching myself thin because I was like, I needed to find the time to do this because it was exciting, and I knew I could help more people. My business was growing, and so on and so forth. But then obviously, you hit a bit of a ceiling. So pretty much almost the opposite problem. Now I was having a problem that I was at full capacity, and the inquiries were still coming through. It was just me at the time, and I thought, okay, now I've got a decision to make. Do I just stop taking on any more athletes and say no to the inquiries, or do I bring on an assistant coach that can help me and keep these athletes within the Best Athletics coaching community? And so I decided the latter was the best. I brought on an assistant coach, and that turned out to be a really good decision. And we then obviously grew from there. At that stage, I also decided to register Best Athletics. So this was also a bit of a trade-off decision for me, and one that I was super, super scared to make, because at the time I thought, a lot of people joined me for their coach, but like I say, the plan's a small part of it. It's a lot of people joined for the community, and I felt like in the community, if I registered if I started Best Athletics, it's obviously a much lower pricing point that a lot of the coached runners might be like, okay, cool, I no longer need the coaching plan, but I want to be part of the community and stop with the coaching and just become a Best Athletics member, which obviously would then consume my business in many ways. So it was a tough decision. I thought about it a little bit, and I thought, you know what, it's the right thing to do, because it'll attract a whole lot more people. Not everyone can afford running coaching. Running coaching is a luxury to a lot of people, and a lot of people wanted to be in. They wanted to be in as part of this running community, and they just wanted to be as a club member. So registered it, separated the two, and yeah, it also turned out to be such an amazing decision. So people could join the club, and a lot of people do and still do as a member. And then there's the coaching side of things, and you know, coached runners are automatically members. And yeah, since then, I suppose the rest is almost history. Not too much has actually changed, to be honest. We've grown significantly in the right ways. I still feel like we're getting started. So like I said, at the moment, you know, we've got just over 500 Best Athletics members. And honestly, in my view, it's a matter of time before Best Athletics is the biggest running club in the UK. But you know, one thing that must remain is that the vibe and supportive community that it has must always be there, and culture, because that's what ultimately makes the club. So yeah, just speaking it through and sharing it with you, you know, makes me realize how tough that first year and a half was. But you know, us runners, we're a stubborn bunch, and when we want things, we make things happen. And so much in my career, I need to give to running, because running's taught me, you know, that nothing ever comes for free. You have to work out there. Like, nothing just falls on your plate. You have to work out there. You have to go get it. And yeah, it took me just over 30 years. I'm 33 at the moment, almost 34, to realize exactly what I wanted to do in life. And thankfully, you know, I do what I love on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, if you have any questions on the journey to date, pop them in the comments below. I hope the story has helped iron out, you know, I get a lot of questions out there. How did it start? When is the right time? You know, what's the difference between coaching and Best Athletics, and you know, where things are going? And obviously, you know, Best Athletics, it's completely different to the traditional running clubs, and I'm working a lot of things out as I go along. I'm just trying to do my best all the time, and give runners what they want and what they're looking for. So yeah, what a start it's been. It's just the very start still. I can't wait to see the next few years play out. But that's my journey. Over 10 years as a banker, 3.5 years as a running coach, but we're just getting started. Boom, shakalaka, onwards and upwards. Thank you so much for the support out there. 20,000 subscribers, been incredible. And onwards and upwards we go. Let's go.